What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. I want to take a video here today to talk about something a little bit different. We're going to shift gears a little bit, change things up, and take a little bit of a break from the free agency videos, take a little bit of a break from looking at the outside free agents the Seahawks could be looking at. Um, I think it's a good opportunity to address one element of this upcoming offseason that I see Seahawks fans sticking their fingers into a little bit. I get the comments about this guy sometimes. I get the Facebook posts and the X posts sometimes about this guy. I'm talking about Justin Fields. There is some traction around this idea of trading Geno Smith. It would be a trade now. We know that. But moving off of Geno Smith, and instead of drafting a quarterback, because we might not be in a position to draft one of the top quarterbacks, this idea of going out and getting Justin Fields. So I want to take one video to talk about this a little bit because I'm just going to say it. I hate this more than just about anything. I can't imagine a worse idea. This is, to me, about as bad. It might even be worse than the idea of let's bring Russell Wilson back to Seattle. Like, to me, they're both bad, really, really, really bad ideas for slightly different reasons, but I hate both equally, and it would be really, really tough, pretty much impossible for me to get behind either idea. So, first of all, let's just start at the very basics. You're trading for Justin Fields. You're not signing him, you're trading for him, and quite possibly having to offer some kind of an extension. He just finished his third year, so he could say, I want an extension. Now, he hasn't played very well in the NFL so far, so you might be able to say no and get away with it. But either way, the point is, you're giving up assets to get this guy. And the rumor is that a team like the Steelers, that seems to be the team that's expected to get Fields, is going to give up like a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick to get him. So the Seahawks would probably have to match that. We don't have a second-round pick, by the way, so we'd have to find a way to make the numbers work a different way. Maybe both of our third-round picks and a fourth-round pick, which, I mean, talk about a disaster. That's something that I want no part of. And I hope the people who like this idea understand that you'd probably have to mutilate our draft in order to bring Fields in, and then you wouldn't be able to do that much to make the team better. Like, you might mutilate your whole draft until you get to day 3. You have the first round pick and that's it at that point. So on that level, I hate it, but I also hate it for so many other reasons. Let's talk a little bit about Justin Fields and what he's done so far in the NFL and really dissect him. So simply put, Justin Fields is really bad at football. He's bad at NFL football. He might be good at college football, Madden football, electric football. He's not good at NFL football. All right, I'm going to take a look at some charts here, and the stuff I'm looking at is going to be initially from 2022. I want to look at the last 2 seasons to understand what we're getting into here. This is an old X post from Throw the Damn Ball on X, and it takes a look at quarterbacks in the NFL. Again, this is from 2022. By the rate, how often those quarterbacks throw into tight windows and how often those quarterbacks were able to throw the receiver open when they were in a tight window. So kind of more of an artsy statistic, admittedly. Like, this is tough, right? This is tough to dissect. But this is the first thing that stands out to me when I'm looking at Justin Fields, because there's some stuff to really like there. Physically, he's a beast. He's big. He's got practically linebacker size. He's got great mobility. He moves well. He can run for power. He's been a very productive runner so far in the his career. But I'm looking at something like this and I'm going, okay, he has by a pretty significant amount the lowest percentage of throws into tight windows. Now, that's not bad. That basically means he's not throwing to tightly covered receivers. But look at how low his rate of throwing receivers open is. He basically never does it. It's like, what is this, 2%, 3%, something like that? It basically doesn't exist. So this is something that I'm looking at and going, why is this such an extreme? And the answer is he can't really do it. And if you want a more, if you're more of a visual learner, there are countless videos on YouTube that take a look at some of the plays that Justin Fields has in his NFL career so far and breaks down how bad he is at the actual basic mechanics of playing the position, I definitely recommend you go check out any one of them if you're more of a visual person. But if you're a stats person, just, I mean, take a look at this. 2022, he basically never threw a receiver open. And obviously, this is not some end-all, be-all, one-to-one correlation of who the really good quarterbacks are in this league, but it's so extreme, it tells me that he can't do it at all. And it's not a bad thing that he's avoiding the throws into tight windows, but my point is, I'm looking at something like this, and the thought that occurs to me is that he cannot do it. He cannot play quarterback the way it needs to be played these days. So you're going to end up getting a lot of what you got during the final years of the Russell Wilson era that was frustrating, except I suspect much worse. But the same basic problem applies. Justin Fields, at the end of the day, he's a quarterback who is very entertaining to watch. He makes big plays. He ends up on SportsCenter a lot, but he doesn't actually help you win games. It's kind of like what Russell Wilson is last year, where he had a lot of highlight plays. He even put up some good numbers, kind of like Fields. Some of Fields' numbers are not bad. Like, you can look at these numbers and go, this is a pretty decent quarterback. He doesn't throw the ball that well, but he makes up for it with his legs. You can look at this and go, this is an okay quarterback, but then you actually watch him play within the structure of an offense, and it's a complete disaster, and you can see why he doesn't win games. And Justin Fields, I mean, his win percentage is one of the worst in over the last 3 years of any quarterback. He improved it a little bit in 2023, but still had a losing record. And there's a reason why. It's not just because the team is bad, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But you also have like look at this. This is again 2022, because I don't have this stuff for 2023 handy, but I do want to. This is only a couple years ago, and it really illustrates a very nice point when it comes to Justin Fields. He is, if you take a look at him as a passer, he's last in adjusted net yards per attempt at 4.63, behind guys like Carson Wentz and Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. This is last year, by the way, not the most recent year, but 2022. He is last by far in DVOA, negative 34.5%, and some people are going to say that doesn't include his rushing DVOA. Even if you factor in Justin Fields' rushing DVOA, his DVOA overall is still like negative 25.8, which would be worst. Worse than Matt Ryan, worse than Baker Mayfield, worse than Carson Wentz. Again, in 2022. So I'm looking at something like this. I'm looking at this chart and I'm just thinking, this guy can't play quarterback. He's a running back playing quarterback, literally. Like, we make jokes about a guy like Lamar Jackson being a running back playing quarterback, but Justin Fields is actually a running back playing quarterback. And then you've got this chart as kind of a supplementary piece, evaluating him by various metrics, adjusted net yards, DVOA, passer rating, PFF grade, QB rating. And Fields is down here with Mike White, Matt Ryan, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett. He's down there with those guys in these ever important categories. And he's so far down in all of these stats that the rushing stats don't even come close to making up for it. Remember, again, you are probably looking at giving up like a second-round pick or an equivalent, plus more to get this guy. So, if you're going to do that, wouldn't you rather just spend the second-round pick on a quarterback like Bo Nix? I don't even like Bo Nix, but I think there's more there than there is with somebody like this. Now, this is where maybe some people go, well, maybe he's improved. 2023 happened, right? And I guess Fields did improve a little bit in 2023, but not as much as you might expect. Like, you look at his numbers, just the box score numbers, they don't look that different. They look a little better, but it's very thin. And I'm looking at stats like EPA per play. So let's go to RBSDM, wonderful website run by Ben B. Baldwin, and sort by EPA per play. Let's find Justin Fields. He's down here at 22. Has a barely positive EPA per play. And this is not per throw. This is per drop back. This is all of his plays. So this isn't just cherry picking, oh, this is only when he throws the ball. This should be all of his plays. So barely a positive EPA in 2022. So he improved on this in 2023, right? No. 2023, he was 22nd again, exactly the same ranking, and this time he actually had a negative EPA per play, negative 0.009. So he actually got worse in EPA per play, which is probably a better metric to try to evaluate quarterback play than a lot of the things that people try to use, like the box score stats. This actually tries to equalize and normalize for extreme factors. This actually attempts to quantify what a quarterback is doing on every single play, not just the plays where he throws a touchdown or throws an 80-yard pass or throws a pick six. So he actually got worse here. One area where he did get a little bit better was CPOE, which is completion percentage over expected. So I'm looking at something like that for 2022. I have to scroll way down to get to him. Negative 2.5, so he's very inaccurate in 2022, 27th in the league, one of the least accurate quarterbacks. And then in 2023, he did improve to get it to the positive 0.8, but barely positive, barely. 16th, by the way, was still in the bottom half of the rankings, bottom half of the quarterbacks that qualified. So still average, like barely average, just barely at the average marker. And I don't know if that offsets the EPA drop, because the EPA drop is actually more comprehensive. And by the way, don't you think that the improvements that Fields made, if he did actually make them, I don't know if he did, might have had more to do with DJ Moore, his new teammate, acquiring a guy like DJ Moore who put up Pro Bowl, borderline All-Pro numbers, caught nearly 100 passes, almost 1,400 yards. So, honestly, I look at Fields and I go, I think he just got a real number one wide receiver. By the way, I know people rag on his teammates, but I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this team that Justin Fields has around him, and I'm thinking, this is not that bad at all. Even 2022, he had Darnell Mooney, who, I mean, he's not great. He's definitely a flawed player, but Darnell Mooney is somebody who would probably be the number one receiver on the 2022 Giants. And think about all the bagging we do on a guy like a Daniel Jones. Giants made the playoffs with receivers worse than what the Bears had in 2022. Okay, so if you're going to bag on a guy like Daniel Jones, you should be bagging harder on a guy like Justin Fields. He had good running backs in 2022 as well, by the way. He had Demont and Khalil Herbert. Both those guys were good. Both those guys worked well. And then this year he lost Demont, but Herbert was still there, still fairly effective when he did play. Had Donta Foreman, who was okay. Roschon Johnson was decent when he was able to play. And by the way, he's got Cole Kmet, one of the best tight ends in the league right now. Maybe not elite, but he's very, very good. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, this team is not bad. Not at all. Some people say the offensive line. The Bears' offensive line in 2022 was actually elite in pass block win rate. I think that was the stat they were elite in. So I'm not sure it's that bad. I think it's just that Justin Fields doesn't know how to play within structure, right? It's like the Russell Wilson problem all over again, where he makes the offensive line look worse than they are because of the way that he plays. He doesn't help them out. He hurts them because he keeps running into stupid sacks. That's how Denver had a good offensive line in 2023, and Wilson still, I think, led the league or almost led the league in sacks taken. The only way that's possible is if you have a quarterback that is actively making it harder to protect him. And that's the kind of stuff you see with Justin Fields, except it affects every aspect of his game. He makes everything around him worse. Like, I don't buy this idea that the team around him is responsible for his poor performance at all. Maybe the coaches are bad. Maybe he hasn't had good coaching, but the team, the players, I'm not seeing this concept of him not being surrounded by talent. There's talent here. DJ Moore put up all-pro numbers last year. Cole Kmet is a really good tight end. He's had good running backs throughout his career, and they don't win games, and he doesn't really produce. Again, there was maybe a little bit of improvement in 2023, but I'm definitely not giving up multiple picks for it. I'm definitely not giving up a second-round pick plus for it. Maybe there's some tiny chance he goes to a better situation in terms of like organization and a coaching staff and finds himself. But I think it's far more realistic that Justin Fields is a running back masquerading as a quarterback. Got no interest in him. And that is my thoughts on that. So let me know what you guys think down below, but I am super out on this one. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Justin Fields, say no.